So this Livekit/agents library has a few imports here. First, we import a type called job context. Then we import worker options, which is a class. We import CLI, define agent, LLM, and multimodal. So far, we've imported 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 packages from the Livekit/agents library. Next, we're going to import the OpenAI package from the Livekit/agents-plugin-OpenAI. And they have a few different LLMs that you can also do this with. In this example, we're using OpenAI. Notice this is not the direct package from OpenAI. So if you just install OpenAI, it won't work the same. This is a particular package built by Livekit so that you can utilize OpenAI with their SDK. Here, we also import the .env package, which comes from the .env library, and that's so that we can reference the .env variables. Here, we're also importing file URL to path, and that's coming from the node::URL package. So Zod is what we're using for validation. It's just so that when we're creating our function calls, which is pretty much different actions that the agent can take, like create a journal entry, get the weather, things of that nature, we're making sure that we're following specific rules so that we don't get a bunch of TypeScript errors, as well as errors from the LLM, which doesn't understand the way that we've set up our function calling. Create a variable called dir name, so __ dir name, and that just stands for directory name. And we're going to set that equal to the path import that we created there. So it's going to look at the current directory, and then we're going to pass that method an argument of file URL to path, and then import.meta.url. And that's the reason why we went ahead and imported this here. It's because it's used here. We went ahead and imported path because it's used here. And for dir name, it's combining those two. Awesome. Next, we have our env path, which stands for environment variables path. So here we're using the path import once again, and we're saying path.join the current directory name, and then we're going out of this folder here and into the .env file. And that's the reason why we do that, so that we have access to our .env environment variables. Lastly, with our .env package that we imported, we're going to go ahead and use that here with a method that it has called config, and we're going to pass the path as well as the variable that we created for our .env environment variables. And all this is doing is activating all of these .env environment variables in here so that they're accessible. At that point, we're ready to actually go into the agent. This here, starting from line 22, is the agent file. Think of it as the entire recipe that you need to build your voice AI agent. We have an entry method here, and this entry is going to take in an asynchronous function, which has context, job context, and that's all the information that we're giving the agent as far as when it activates. Here, we go ahead and within the body of this asynchronous function, which isn't named, we're going to go ahead and await context.connect. So we're creating a connection there. You can create any console logs that you want. Here it says waiting for participant, but anything so that you know that this part of the code has activated and you want to see that in terminal, you can put that here. Next, we're going to make sure that we have a participant. Now, what is a participant? Well, a participant is the person that the agent is speaking to. Okay, so whether that's a user, whether you have it talking to another agent, a participant is the second party that the agent is speaking with. So here we create a variable called participant, and we set that equal to await. Here we're using context once again. So we've seen that we've used context several times. So here we've got context, and we're going to utilize a method within the context called wait for participant, and we're going to invoke that. Once we've invoked that, we're going to console.log the actual participant's identity. Now there are a few other variables, or rather methods, or I think the best one I'm looking for is properties. There are a few properties that the participant has, but we're really interested in what the identity is so that we can tell the different users who's who. Okay. So at this point, we've now established that our participant is in this room. And anytime you're setting up an agent with Livekit, you want to think about rooms. Who's in the room with the AI agent? We've set all of this up, but we need the meat and potatoes for the actual agent. So let's go over that.